Yep, what about it?
Yeah, you just said there was nothing about transgender.
Yeah, so how about this? I give you the mic, and we hear what you have to say. And then I'm going to answer you, and you'll hear what I have to say, what everybody else here has to say. I believe that transgenderism specifically is a mental health disorder. I believe it's a mental health condition.
Okay.
Nobody cares what they think.
Well, no. We're going to finish this. This is good. We have to have open conversation in this country. But I don't think the
Not
compassionate thing to do.
mental health disorder.
Well,
it's how they fucking feel.
Well, let me. If I'm going to give you a chance to respond if you'd like, but
No,
we can't have an open debate in this country if we're not able to state our views.
That's how they feel.
All right, folks, so we are back here at our regular studio in the great state of Florida, and today we got a doozy of a video for you because Vivek Ramaswamy, who, by the way, New Year's resolution, I'm going to finally start saying his name right, so you can stop commenting about it now, okay? The guy has certainly earned enough of my respect in 2023. He gained his stripes to where if he wants me to say his name as Vivek or Ooga Badoogie the Doogie or whatever else, he's earned the respect from me. So, Vivek Ramaswamy, New Year's resolution, recently held a town hall in Iowa where he was confronted by this LGBT activist Heckler person, and he gave us yet another masterclass on how to disarm the enemy, right? On how to take a hostile opponent and seemingly sort of talk them off the ledge of their extremism and leave them to the point where they are totally useless in their ability to come at us or attack us or be on the other side. And it's a great clip that we will react to here today. But first, before we get into today's reaction, I do want to tell you briefly about our sponsors today over at Noble Gold Investments. Folks, I'm sure that in 2024, a lot of our New Year's resolutions are going to be to get our finances in order. And a great way to do so is by investing. But as you may know, investing in the stock market or crypto or whatever else can be incredibly unstable, especially in an election year. And I guarantee you 2024 is going to be one of the most economically chaotic years of our lifetime. And that's why it's never been a better time to fortify and diversify your investment portfolio with precious metals like gold and silver. And our friends today over at Noble Gold Investments can help you get started. Noble Gold has been helping customers like you, whether you're brand new to this world or experienced in it, invest in their financial future for years now and have helped to ensure an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and they are great supporters of this channel. So if you're at all curious, be sure to check them out at my affiliate link at thevincedao.com. Again, that is thevincedao.com. Invest in precious metals, secure your financial future at thevincedao.com. All right, with that said, folks, here it is. So he's at this town hall. This person, I'll move the video up here so you can kind of see them, tries to scream at him, and watch what happens next.
Give me the hard questions.
LGBTQ.
What's up?
You heard me.
I actually didn't.
LGBTQ.
Yep, what about it?
Yeah, you just said there was nothing about transgender.
Yeah, so how about this? I give you the mic, and we hear what you have to say. And then I'm going to answer you, and you'll hear what I have to say, what everybody else here has to say. Does that sound like a good deal?
I don't need a mic.
Yes.
I can speak louder.
Well, stand up, tell me your name, and state your question.
My name's Alexis Case, and I grew up here
Okay?
in this town. LGBTQ is a serious situation in this world today. There are children that get bullied because they are gay, they are lesbian, they are transgender. I don't need that.
Okay. You're welcome to have it if you want.
I don't need it.
You get to ask your question, but after that, you're going to hear me give my answer. So I'll let you finish.
What is your stance on LGBTQ?
Good.
So I think you can tell this person is actually a great example of the sort of spiritual or lack of meaning crisis that a lot of people in America suffer from. Because you notice she's definitely angry She's definitely kind of hostile, but she doesn't entirely even know why, right? She didn't really even articulate a coherent question, really. It was very confusing. Like, what are your thoughts on LGBTQ? Okay, what do you mean by that? She just screams LGBTQ again, but let's hear what Vivek has to say.
Thank you for your question. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to go into a level of depth that I don't usually go into on a campaign trail, but I'm going to do it because you asked the question. You deserve an answer. LGBTQIA, there's so many letters, they've just added a plus at the end. That's where we are now. What's going on? So the same movement, because if we're going to call that one thing, let's play it fair. The same movement that said that the sex of the person you're attracted to is hardwired on the day you're born. That was the premise of the gay rights movement, for it to count as a civil right. That movement is now saying that your own biological sex is totally fluid over the course of your life.
Hypocrites.
You can't believe both those things. Well, I think I'm going to get to a deeper say. That's where I was about a year or two ago, but I think there's something deeper going on, and I'll tell you what it is. So the same movement, and by the way, let's think about the women's rights movement in this country, which said there's many ways to be a woman. You can have long hair, short hair, you can wear a skirt, you can wear jeans. Now says that, oh, if actually you want to behave a certain way, that means you're a man. So I think that the hypocrisies go all the way down, and I'll tell you what's going on. You can't believe both of those things at the same time if you're operating according to principles of sheer logic. But you can if you're adopting a faith.
Yeah.
A cult-like belief system. So, this is controversial for me to say, but I'm going to tell you what I think. I believe that transgenderism specifically is a mental health disorder. I believe it's a mental health condition.
Okay.
Nobody cares what they think.
Well, no. We're going to finish this. This is good. We have to have open conversation in this country. But I don't think the
Not a
compassionate
fucking
thing to do.
mental health disorder.
Well-
It's how they fucking feel.
Well, let me. If I'm going to give you a chance to respond if you'd like. But
It is true that's how they feel, but that doesn't necessarily make it not a mental health disorder. You know, I don't think anyone denies that those thoughts are going on in their head, but the same is true of a schizophrenic person or whatever else. But let's keep listening. I have things to say, but I want you to kind of see the full clip first.
we can't have an open debate in this country if we're not able to state our views.
That's how they feel.
It is how they
That's
feel,
how
you're
they
right.
feel.
But
And you know what? I'll tell you a story, and you deserve to hear this. I met two young women in this race about 6 months ago. Their names were Chloe and Katie, two young women. They're in their 20s now. Both of them had their breasts cut off. One of them had her uterus removed.
Okay.
They're in their 20s. They regret that decision. One of them wants to have kids. She'll never have kids. The other one will never breastfeed her children. They'll never be the same because they had that done to them when they were teenagers. So no, when a young person shows up and says, my gender doesn't match my biological sex, they're asking for help.
I agree with that.
That's not
They happened to them when one girl was 13 when it happened to her. She's in her 20s now and regrets it. This is what's wrong in this country. We will look back at this and say this was barbaric that we allowed this to happen in this
Absolutely.
country. That is not compassion. That is cruelty. And so I don't think the right thing to do is I'm not going to villainize those people. You don't villainize people who are going through suffering, but you have to be willing to say when a kid shows up and says, my gender doesn't match my biological sex, you have to be able to say, what else is going wrong at home? What else might be going wrong at school? Get to the bottom of what's going on. Help that person with compassion, with dignity. So my view is this, if you're an adult.
And not only is that a politically good way as a candidate to frame the trans question, you know, because you never want to seem like you're just trying to bully people or put people down. But on top of that, it's honestly the way I really do feel about it. I think Vivek's right about that, which is, yes, these people do suffer from mental health problems. There is obviously something mentally, and I'd argue spiritually going on wrong there. But ultimately, as much as we talk about the evils of what I think the people leading this movement are really perpetrating. At the same time, a lot of the people who suffer from that stuff are the victims here, right? Here you have mentally wrong people who, you know, they're dealing with stuff, they're going through stuff. That's all very real. Instead of trying to help, instead of trying to, you know, bring them back to normalcy, instead of trying to actually be empathetic and help them through whatever they're going through in their lives, what does the system say instead? It says, no, the solution is to mutilate yourself. You know, we play into everything going wrong with them instead of, out of compassion, truly trying to fix it. And honestly, I think, you know, maybe I'm guilty of this. A lot of conservatives are guilty of this. Our problem, especially approaching this trans issue, is sometimes we actually do lack a degree of compassion. Not in terms of we should be compassionate towards playing into this stuff or promoting this, but understanding that the people who deal with this stuff, you know, not all of their agendas necessarily are to subvert Western civilization and destroy America, but more so there's something going on deeply inside of them that's very wrong, and they're actually being manipulated into destroying their own bodies by very bad people. And I think it's masterful that Vivek always frames it in this way. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but let's keep listening.
But kids are not the same as adults, and we have to protect our children. And I'm going to go further than that. We can't change the way that women and men compete in sports. We can't do that. We can allow you to live your life the way you want to.
So notice she was about to, this is why I say, like, the way he does this is just so good. Notice when he said transgenderism was a mental health disorder, you know, predictably, she got very angry. She was about to leave. But then Vivek explains, I'm not saying that out of animosity toward these people. I'm actually saying it toward a great degree of compassion. You saw her face. Her expression started to change. And now she was about to walk out that door. She actually walks back in, and watch what happens next.
But we can't change the way that we operate in our own life. And I'm going to finish this thought, and then you get to respond, because I think this is good. We don't do this enough. Open debate. I love this. I think what we've had in our country before is a tyranny of the majority, and that's what we worry about. But right now, we don't have a tyranny of the majority. What we have in this country right now is a tyranny of the minority. That's what we have right now, a tyranny of the fringe minority that tells you to shut up, sit down, and do as you're told. No, we have to stand for what is true. And so I promise you, you will have a chance to respond. I'm going to keep my promise. You tell me. This is good. We don't do this enough in our country anymore. Open conversation. Tell me.
I was a child when I knew that I was gay. Not the fact that I wanted to change my gender, but living here in this town, I knew that I wanted, that I was a lesbian, that I was attracted to females.
And you know what's
But I had to hide it.
And when did you grow? When was that? In the 90s?
Oh, no. Let's see, I came out when I was 19, so I was born in 1983.
So I think where we are now, we're in a similar generation. I think things today aren't what they were. I grew up in Ohio in the 1990s, and we're in a different place today. And I think this could be a very productive conversation. I don't get to do this in the campaign trail often, where we all are in our own echo chambers and silos. So it's good for us to talk to each other. I like that. Something funny's happened, I think, in the last few years in this country with the civil rights movement. It's right when we get to closest to the promised land of true racial equality that we then start obsessing over systemic racism. It's right when we get to the point in our national history where whoever you are, you can marry who you want, where you want, if you want, whatever gender they are, that we start then obsessing over the sexual identity revolution. You know what's actually funny right now is many people who are lesbian or gay are being taught to say that, hey, if you're a woman attracted to a woman, you're not a woman, you're a man. So that's the transgender movement. The L and the G, first of all, don't have that much to do with each other. The G and the T don't have as much to do with each other. But we're clubbing all of these things up to create more division. I hate the term persons of color. You want to know why? You take 100 different cultures, combine them into one thing that's designed to be opposed to this other thing we call white. And so the way I view this is, you are free to live your life the way you wish to, as long as you don't hurt anybody else in return. And I'm free to do the same thing too. But that doesn't mean we change the way men and women compete in sports. That doesn't mean we change the way men and women, I don't think that just because you identify as a man doesn't mean that you're entitled to a trophy. You agree? Do you agree with me on that?
That's different.
You agree with me on that?
I do.
You agree with me on that? All right.
That's different.
Because men shouldn't be swimming with women in women's sports competitions. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's different.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
That's
And so that's what I'm saying is it's not all the same thing, right? And so we got to respect people and treat them with dignity. Every one of us is different. But all I'll say is kids aren't the same as adults. And if we can agree on that, then I think we at least made some progress tonight and we'll have a step forward. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I respect her for asking that. That takes courage to stand up and be the only. You know what? I'll tell you this. When you're the only person in a room, and I'll come to you next, when you're the only person in a room who believes what you do, I will always tell you, stand up and say it. That's how we're going to get this country back, is actually all of us starting to speak openly again. And that's how we're going to get this country back. And I love your shirt. She's got an American flag, so you get the next question.
Here's what I think Vivek is very good at. Is when you take a look at him on policy, he is arguably the most right-wing, quote-unquote, far-right candidate in the entire race in terms of ideas. But what he's very good at also doing is explaining that in a way that is also kind of uniting. It almost sounds moderate. It almost sounds like nonpartisan to a degree. And I think actually Bill Maher, when he was on the podcast, put it very well when he said that, Vivek, I find you both disarming and alarming, right? To Bill, alarming because in a sense he actually is very conservative on the issues, but also disarming because he's also very good at framing them very masterfully in a way where he doesn't actually seem that extreme to sort of the middle of the road person. And I thought this clip here is a prime example of how he does that. Because what is his stance on transgenderism? He believes transgenderism is a mental health disorder. Now, I don't find anything wrong, especially scientifically, with that stance. But understandably, when you're trying to campaign to people, it is something that may seem a little bit extreme. As you saw, she was about to walk out of that room. She was very angry. But then what does he do? He kind of brings it all together by explaining the point I made earlier, which is important. I don't say that out of malice towards these people. I actually say it towards a high degree of compassion. I think that's very important. And notice he also manages to find a point of agreement with her and kind of wraps it all together and says, look, maybe you and I disagree on certain alphabet mafia issues, but do we at least agree that men don't belong in women's sports? High five at the end, right? So here he took a person who was very angry, came right at him, and he could have destroyed her, and that would have been a different style of debate in itself. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But again, something he's very good at is instead of just bulldozing her in her arguments, he kind of brings her back down to earth. And I would argue, especially that point at the end where, they high five, they agree. That is a way that you can sometimes plant the seeds in people's minds to maybe eventually change their minds, right? Because obviously we're very polarly opposed as a country on this issue. But if you find that one point of agreement, as Vivek is able to do, you kind of, to the other side, you humanize yourself. And again, maybe you get them thinking about this one thing, you get them to agree on this one thing, they start thinking about other things. Who knows where that debate goes? But again, I thought Vivek was very good at that. And here's what I'll say. Because the obvious point by now, it doesn't seem likely he's going to win the primary. The main point of discussion around him is, should he be the VP? I am now strongly leaning towards more the idea of yes. I know I've been a little bit more skeptical about it before, and the reason for that has been I don't just believe in picking a VP because you like the person and you want to see a dream ticket, quote unquote. I've always been of the view you need to pick a strategic VP, right? Trump needs to choose someone who complements him well, complements his personality, ideology, or whatever. And my issue, I guess, with Vivek has been, well, does he really complement Trump or is he too much like Trump? But the more I actually think about it, Vivek complements Trump perfectly. Because while they may be very similar ideologically, they are polarly opposite in terms of personality, right? Trump's personality, think about who he is. He's brash, he's kind of aggressive, he's straight to the point, and there is virtue to that, right? I'm not saying Trump should change. That's what makes Donald Trump Donald Trump. But on one hand, it is also true that can be very divisive, that can be off-putting to some people. Vivek, on the other hand, like Bill Maher said, alarming and disarming at the same time. I don't think he's ideologically moderate by any means, but he has that calmer temperament. You kind of feel good when you listen to him talk. You know, he's sort of non-threatening in a way. I think those two can complement each other very well, right? Here's a guy who articulates himself in a very opposite way to Trump, but they're sort of ideologically united. That makes perfect sense to me, and it's beginning to make a lot more sense to me. So I certainly hope Trump goes through with that. You've heard rumors recently that he may be looking at someone like Nikki Haley. I don't know if those are true. Frankly, I don't really believe that they are true, but that's not something you want to see at all. I think this actually makes perfect sense to me, making Vivek the VP. And when you consider, if you watch Trump debating Biden, and the people who don't like Trump's personality may look at that and say, well, I don't like this guy. Well, when they tune into the VP debate or when they watch Vivek on TV, they may say, oh, well, that makes me feel a little bit different about this ticket. It's sort of the perfect balance of the super aggressive and the super disarming. Could make a very good ticket. So I'm honestly, going into 2024, I'm actually fully in favor of that idea. And I think this clip right here and the way he approaches the situation, which arguably is polarly opposite to the way Trump would approach it, neither are wrong. They're just different strategies to go about debate, discussion, and rhetoric. I think that perfectly proves why he would actually be a very strong VP. But with that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this clip down in the comment section down below. Did you think he handled this well? And until next time, folks, if I do not see you before New Year's, have a happy New Year. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Be sure to check out our friends over at VinceDaoGold.com. And until next time, Alpha Moves only. God bless. Have a very good day and peace.